Pranam, Daaji. So nice
Namaskar.
to see you, as always.
Yes, Pragya, good to hear your voice and see you.
The
Very
pleasure
nice.
is all mine, Daaji. So I was just talking through some of the tactics of the book, Daaji, but also taking the opportunity to congratulate and also thank the many people who have been behind this book. I'm just going to take the time to sort of also introduce and mention their names. And then some of them also have questions for you. So we'll just jump right in. But before that, would you like to share anything before I actually get on to the thank yous?
Well, I'm so happy to see so many new faces, especially, and so many old faces. And especially when I was browsing through, I saw George Zagby, and I haven't seen him for years. And as we flip the screen, I would know more. Anyway, so wonderful to see all of you. And it entices me that it's long time I haven't been in US. This time I must visit. Heart is craving, but body is not ready. Yeah. Anyway, so happy to see you, and I'm sure you all are waiting for not just question answers or a book, but a meditation later on. So we'll meditate as well. But formalities. Let's finish the formalities. Okay.
Sure, Daji. I'll just take it from here. So I think just to begin with, we wanted to thank our publishing partners, Balance. We have Hannah Robinson, who's the editor, and her team, including Nana, Kim, Natalie, and Alex, who have been a dream to work with from what I hear, and their values truly resonate with the message and purpose of your work. So later on, Hannah will be asking you a question, but thank you so much for all the incredible work. We're also happy to have the team of Fabularis, headed by Caroline and Felicia. They have been helping us in spreading the message about the book as our publicity partners. They're actually veterans in this space of spirituality. So I think one of the things that really struck out for us when we started to work with them is they decided to only ink the partnership once they had taken the time to read the book, which meant that it took us a little bit longer, but we were patient, and they really wanted to commit when they had belief in the book. So thank you for taking the time to do this and spreading the word. We also have our agent, Amanda Annis from Trident. She has made it her mission to make sure that, Daaji, your thoughts act as a source of wisdom for even more times to come by helping us in publishing many more books in the future. So thank you, Amanda, once again. And in the same vein, we have many writers, including the wonderful Gary Jensen. So thank you again. And we also have Kelly Malone from Seattle, who started working with us a couple of years ago, but now she's a dedicated Abhyasi. So, she's been growing her practice leaps and bounds. So thank you again for your incredible effort on this. And we also wanted to thank Jamie Turner, who's a marketing guru and has been supporting us again to take the word of the book around. And lastly, but obviously not the least, is just all the volunteers who have been working tirelessly in taking this mission forward. There's a short video that was created around these volunteers, which was created by Noah, and we will be sharing the link again in the chat box. So please do take the time to watch this incredible, inspiring video. And also just a special call out to Sarah Reagan, who's joining us from Mind Body Green. She was also in Kanha, Shanti, Vanam recently. And also we have many other folks who are our Quora readers, Janie, Josh, Taylor, Gulfam, and Meg Dixon. So thank you again. And we really appreciate all the support and all the work that you've been putting in to take this word. So just wanted to now hand it over and ask the first question. So Hannah, you're here. Do you have a question for Daaji? And we would love to also see who you are for the incredible work that you've been putting in.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm so honored to be here with all of you. Daaji, hello. My goodness,
Hello.
We started talking about this book so long ago. It's beautiful.
Yes.
What a full circle moment.
Once
Very
upon a
special.
time.
I know. A good start to a beautiful partnership. I've been so honored getting to work with you, and it's so special to get to see so many heartfulness practitioners here with us today. You have such a beautiful community, and I'm really glad we get to speak about spiritual anatomy to everyone today. My first question for you is kind of on behalf of everyone here. The book starts with a beautiful parable of a king and a wise man who come into contact, and they have an exchange that shows the way that we need to bring our spiritual life into our daily life and integrate them, that they're not separate. And I wanted to ask you, can you say a little bit more about how paying attention to our spiritual anatomy helps us to integrate our spiritual and daily lives more closely?
Well, spiritual life involves some level of effort from our side. Then it becomes very natural, automatic for us. It becomes part of our nature. Things we intend, things we remain busy with, our thoughts, our behavior, the lifestyle, etc. And once we begin a certain level of practice, you see, for example, if you practice to be a good terrorist, right? What goes on in your mind being a terrorist? How to blow someone, how to kill someone, how to destroy many more in one go, right? That's an extreme example. But a spiritual person, instead of killing others, he would perhaps sacrifice oneself and always seeks for an opportunity to serve this godly kingdom. So his life is guided by nobility, and practice opens up many areas of understanding. When we practice, it's not just that we think of God, but many great things open up in our hearts. We become vehicle of all those messages. That Lord Jesus was not the only, receiver of messages. We all can receive similar messages from the Holy Spirit, as they say, which pervades everywhere. Once our heart becomes purer through our efforts, through our intentions, as long as our heart is available to purify ourselves, this purity will radiate in rest of our activities. For example, when I meditate in the morning, and after meditation, I develop a certain state of peacefulness, some calmness prevails. And this calmness spectrum, if you have, or if you manage to have a scientific study and say, okay, this is the spectrum of consciousness of a meditative person, saintly person, angelic person, and a terrorist. You'll see a huge spectrum there. And depending upon where you fall into, that spectrum of consciousness will always be part of you during your activities. Sometimes you may go up or you may go down, but your median will be the same. And each day, that median consciousness will go on changing for better. It will get more and more refined as we meditate. And with such consciousness, when we work, interact with family members, and when we interact with better understanding, life becomes better. See, I was a pharmacist. I practiced for many years in New York City, and especially in Brooklyn. The neighborhoods then of 80s and 90s and, end of the years. And then I practiced almost till 2005 or so, from 1984. This was my routine. I would meditate in the morning, have breakfast, go to pharmacy, work as a pharmacist. Now, what happens during those working hours? Open the stores, people are waiting for you, especially when you are late. Sometime, traveling from Staten Island to Brooklyn takes, unpredictable time. So anyway, people would wait. And I was wondering why. Because the way you deal with each patient, patiently with a lot of care. You spend time, you listen to them, you listen to their problems, and then not only dispense the medication, but also share their life, share our viewpoints with a peaceful mind, peaceful heart. Well, of course, there were times when certain arguments would lead to some sort of irritable quarrel, and we had to explain. Many a times people don't understand, especially old age folks. When the insurance policies are changing so rapidly, something is covered, something is not covered, formulary changes, and all kinds of stuff. Your co-payment has gone up. We have to end up calling to change the brand, and old people especially, they get so ruffled up on this. And when you sit quietly, hold their hands and explain, I think only a meditative mind can do that. I have seen many a times patients coming from different drugstores, entering our place with so much of agitation. They start saying, oh, that SOB, so and so, that SOB, so and so has insulted me. They don't know how to explain to me. They don't know how to talk to me. So suddenly the whole thing changes. When our people, those who work with meditative mind, I think they are able to do better justice. Same thing in interacting with even mundane thing like opening the door of your bedroom or opening the bathroom door, and how you open this faucet, how peacefully you open the faucet with so much of care and tenderness. I think all these are part of a spiritual life. Spiritual life to me means not to create ripples and not to allow yourself also to have so much of turbulence in your heart. Be as serene as possible. And when serene heart is there, serenity will prevail everywhere. See? And I think it's the root of all this thing is a practice. Without practice, without meditation, you cannot have a meditative state. And without meditative state, what are you going to offer? Same old stuff, same old henna.
That's very true. No, without that new meditative mind to bring with you, you bring all of your old conditioning, you bring everything you've brought with you. You speak about that so beautifully in the book. Perhaps we could zoom in a little bit, because you speak about the samskaras and the way that we bring those past memories, those past patterns, past ways of thinking into our present life, unless we learn to interrupt that with our meditative mind. Would you mind telling us a little bit more about how the samskaras form, how they live with us, and how that heartfulness practice helps us counterbalance so that we can live, as you're saying, with that meditative mind?
Well, just now I was studying some availability bias. It's a psychological phenomena that people tend to, remain biased based on the immediate available information. So, and this available information is always prejudiced. It's instantaneous. There is no more thought or understanding applied to it. For example, if you say, okay, so and so restaurant was not good. Okay, maybe on that day, particular waiter, or they didn't have a good time in the morning in their own house, right? And you immediately judge that the restaurant is not good. This is immediate impact of it, say. But if you go on again and again and see that that is not the fact. But should I make so many efforts to understand the other? If I can remain open without previous biases, right? Suppose I lied to Hannah, and the result would be that you may not trust me, right? And what would be my wish? That Hannah, please forgive me. Would you trust me again? That means I would like that you would forget my previous encounter you change your conditioning about myself. That is the level of generosity I would beg Hannah to have for me. So similarly, for the rest of the world, I have to be generous enough to let go of others' mistakes, impressions that we collect, and give them some level of freedom. That doesn't mean that we forget. This teaches us one fundamental thing, that whatever act we have, it remains in our mind as a cognitive memory, or it remains as an emotional memory. Emotional memory builds samskaras, builds impressions. I can forgive very easily when I do the evening cleaning, when I perform this evening rejuvenation process. I can get rid of the baggage. But it is good for me to remember, because this remembering at a cognitive level is better for me for my own personal protection. So, cleaning does not remove the protective veil that it creates around us. It removes the burden of emotion. So, in that sense, cleaning is of very great importance actually. And when we meditate, the meditative mind will deflect all the unnecessary baggage that you would otherwise accumulate. So meditative mind prevents us from forming more and more impressions. So it works, it's as a double-edged sword, see. Meditation not only creates a meditative state, but when we function with a meditative state of mind, we have less anger, we have better understanding, and because of that, we don't form heavy loads of impressions. We don't get so much rattled by things around us. We are able to deflect the problems before they even occur, because meditative mind can understand ahead of time before you even think of it, before you even act. For example, when I had to meditate in the morning, and during meditation, I don't only get just the thoughts around divinity or Babuji, but I would have other thoughts as well related to what I'm supposed to do later on during daytime. And when they do pass by my mind and I'm witnessing those thoughts, and automatically the attention will go towards what I must not be indulging with. My heart will say, avoid this. So I would have saved so much of time by not entertaining those thoughts, and actually also not giving the appointment for that activity. So we save a lot of time as well, see. Cleaning frees us tremendously and grants us so much of peace and lightness. Even whether you believe in God or not, that's not important. But when you do this evening cleaning process, or for example, you're about to lose your fuse and you're about to get angry. But before that, if you can manage to control yourself and do just 2 minutes of cleaning, you'll be able to protect yourself from this outburst of anger. Anger at any cost, I mean, whether it is for a justifiable reason or not, it's always bad. See? It's good to keep it in, postpone it as much as you can, and see the impact of it, because, not because, but I'll explain to you. I don't know how many of you can understand chemistry. But in chemistry, there are things like bonds. There are chemical bonds. Like we have relationship bonds, right? Now, just as chemical bonds are formed, and a lot of energy input is required to form any bond. In relationship also, we develop relationship and we invest so much of our emotion in this relationship, right? And it creates either the strong bond or the weak bond. Now, when we break these bonds, for example, when I'm identified myself, when I bonded myself with body consciousness, or my mind consciousness, or my identification with my ego, or my identification with my community. And when I dissolve these bonds, when I clean these bonds, when I break these bonds, so much of energy is freed up from inside. And this energy that you now released within the system now is better available for a creative work. That's why they say don't have so much of bondage. Have relationship, but maintain only that much of bond that is required. Loving bond is always welcome. Loving bond always frees us. I mean, it gives us so much of freedom versus the bond that is created out of choicelessness and helplessness. And they need to be dropped. And once you drop those things, I think you get so much of creative energy bubbling inside. I'm sharing this because energy can never be destroyed. Science repeats that again and again. Great Einstein also says energy can never be destroyed. You can only transform the energy. Now, when we say this anger, it's also an energy. I can transform this anger through the lens or allowing it to pass through my consciousness, through my heart. With a better understanding, I can transform it, I can mutate it and make it more compassionate heart. See? You just give it a time if you have a moment to ponder over your reason for anger. Then you'll say, oh, I'm glad I postponed it. Now I have understood that it was good that I did not blow up. So cleaning is a great offering of, I think, more important, I would say, than meditation itself. Cleaning aspect and the heartfulness practice, it's a magical tool.
Truly. Thank you so much, Daaji.
Thank you, Anna.
Thanks, Anna. So Daaji, we also have Felicia from the Fabularis team who would also want to ask you a question. So Felicia, over to you.
Hi, Daaji. It's wonderful to meet you.
Yes, finally.
Yes, finally, after all this time. I did have a question regarding spiritual anatomy. It's based upon the combination of scientific and spiritual research, but how would you explain spiritual anatomy to a skeptic?
I can start giving the example and making them feel, making them understand how these energy vortexes are formed. I would ask them, okay, become very angry with yourself or on someone. What happens to your heart? Do you feel the vibrations? Do you feel the heaviness, some part of the body? Okay. Likewise, when you are so much enabled by sensual demand, you have a sudden tremendous sexual urge, and see what happens to your system at that time. What part of the body the vibrations are settling in? What part of the body you're getting heaviness? Similarly, when you love someone, when you have peaceful mind, peaceful heart, when you have contentment, when you have extraordinary fearlessness or courage, what happens? Can you feel the vibrations at that time? Under every situations, there are different vibrations that we feel at emotional level. At the same time, those who are very physically sensitive, they can feel that. Now, when we continuously keep on studying the levels of vibration under all these different sets of moods, you will see that the vibrations attack or vibrations are felt at different parts of the body. Okay. When you are seated with a person who is a rapist, for example, you are traveling by Delta flight, so and so you are on 6A and that person is on 6B. And he keeps on, rubbing your shoulders. That touch gives you that eerie feelings inside your heart. Where does that eerie feeling hit you at that time? Often, person you sit beside may not even touch you. And yet, that gross feeling arises in your heart that not with this person. You feel bad that why this person is sitting beside me. While some individuals you are so elated to be with. So at least this much we can understand that each one of us carry a vibratory field. The center of each vibratory field is somewhere in the body. Over a time, we can make them feel where the center of each emotion is lying or it's centered. So it's a process in itself that even a non-believer can go through this. At least one will have to have a belief that there is something like mood, something like emotions. Even not believing in God is an emotion. Which is this God that you don't believe in? In fact, the people who believe in are quite dishonest. People who don't believe, to my mind and heart, they're very honest people. They don't believe because there is no evidence, there is no feeling, there is no vividness to it. People who believe in all kinds of gods and goddesses and Lord Jesus and all that, and Krishna and Prophet and all that, it's good. But their belief is very hollow, without any substance. They believe because of fear, or they believe because of temptation. That's the statement of my master, that all religion, they thrive on these two principles. That what if I don't, maybe I will be sent to hell. And if I do this, maybe I'll be sent to heaven. These are only two things why people end up doing things. There is a transaction that if I pray this many times, if I fast on such and such a day, if I donate, if I, things like that, then I'll be saved from misery. But then this is a trajectory business. Okay. Even when I ask you, do you believe in God? What is your answer?
Yes.
Why do you believe in God?
Because there's something greater than me in the universe.
What tells you that?
My heart.
Well, that is good. That is good. You have some perception that there is something greater than that. But most people, especially where I'm from, if you ask a question, do you believe in God? They say yes. When you ask them, why do you believe in God? They say, oh, my mom taught me that. Our religions speak about it. Our literature, our holy scriptures talk about it. And things like that. See, my priest or my pandit talks about it. And so I think since everybody believes, I also believe. Nothing wrong in belief, but according to my master, he says, experience is better. So when an atheist, a non-believer experiences, then there is no better person than non-believer, because he will be moving with passion.
Yeah.
Already the man with the belief system is so much tired.
Yep.
All his emotions are invested in belief system, and he's quite contented with belief. I believe in Lord Jesus and I believe he'll save me after all because of my belief. But you lead your life in a very crooked way. Every Friday or Saturday, Sunday, you go and ask for forgiveness and you keep on repeating.
Right.
You see, and when Lord Jesus says, you have to forgive, and we also demand similar reciprocated response from the Lord that he will also forgive me. But how many times, you're not children that you go on repeating the same thing again and again back. So belief is okay, but just believing, I think it will misguide us. When I see you, I believe you are there, but is my belief enough?
Mm.
The stars, the sky, the ocean in front. When they are there, do I have to believe they are there? I don't have to believe they are there. They are there. I can see it. They are there. Having believed in God, what are you going to do about it? What is your next step? Next step should be to experience the presence.
Mm.
So atheists say, okay, you may not believe in God. I like that. You are at least honest. But what if I make you experience? Then would you change your mind? So slowly this relationship begins. And is this experience good enough? That you experience for 5 minutes, or, oh, I was with Babuji for 10 years and my master gave me so much of spiritual conditions. Are they enough? So, though experiencing is better than belief system, but there is something greater awaiting. Experiences should not stop us just to that experience. I must go beyond. For example, if you come here and you are associated with a very wealthy person and who gives you his yacht and gives you a great vacation on his island in Indian Ocean, and you spend 3 most wonderful romantic months on that island, and then after 3 months you have to go back to America, you would say, oh, it was wonderful to spend time on that island in the Indian Ocean. It was great. Experience was great. But I wish I was also as rich as my friend. Won't you think like that? So, in spirituality, divine experiences are great, but to become divine is altogether a different matter.
Mm.
You see, belief is good, but not good enough. Experience is better. Experience is good, like being on that island, but becoming that person as rich, as divine, is a different thing. And when we say goodbye to this, even the burden of bliss, of enjoyment, of becoming divine, you let go of that also. You will have absolute freedom then, see, that you are able to say even goodbye to this becoming. And that my master calls it as absolute void, where there are no contradictions. So you get it now?
I do. That's an excellent way to explain it to a skeptic. They always come up when, books will challenge their belief system because they're operating from a scientific point of view or a non-belief. So I absolutely love your response to that. It's
Well,
very enlightening.
once I was in discussion like this with someone who was not ready to believe in presence of divinity.
Mm.
I say, okay, we meditate with an idea that divine light or the source of divinity is in my heart. It's a positive spin to experience the presence. I say, how would you experience the absence? Can you show me how you experience the absence? It's
Amazing.
like finding Saddam Hussein's, those arms, destructive weapons. Show me what you have, or show me what you don't have.
Hmm.
How can I show you what doesn't exist? So I tell that friend, okay, instead of meditating on the presence of divine light, why don't you meditate on the absence of divine light?
Hmm.
And see if that, so he kept on scratching his head and he said, how to imagine the absence? I said, you just cannot imagine because that's not our DNA. We are made to believe, not to not believe.
Hmm.
You see, I also share another example that, if you've seen a newborn baby born, as soon as the baby is born, baby begins to cry. Right? This cry is a sign that something has come along that gives us life. If the baby didn't cry, then the nurses and doctors, they will go crazy, running from room to room and trying to find a way to resuscitate the heart or stimulate the breathing. And if that too doesn't happen, that means it's still baby. Baby did not come with the life force. Whether you call it soul or part of God or you call it Atman, what you call doesn't matter. But there is something that comes at the moment of birth. It stays with us till the last breath. At least honor that entity who is dwelling inside you. Respect that entity. Be grateful to that entity. All religions, they call this entity with different names. Names are not important. It's good to be grateful to that entity. And that's what we call worship, reverence, being grateful towards the one who gives us life. In fact, all religions are against life force. Hindus, they go out and say, thank you, God. Other religions also, they go outside. Whereas the real thing is inside you. The person, the entity who gives you life is inside you. It's not outside myself. Let me entertain some level of reverence, some level of respect to that entity. Go inward. Be thankful to that entity. If it decides that tonight it's going to say goodbye to me, what would you do? Can you stop it? No. You can't wake up. It's gone. And where will it go? And who is it that has gone? Body is left behind. Something very special has gone out. So who is dying? Body is dying. The life force has gone out somewhere. It will reincarnate, embody itself in different womb based on its own actions. So this whole cycle continues, whether you believe in it or you don't believe in it. It does not matter. But if we remain respectful towards the life giver, then life changes. We become more peaceful, we become joyful, we remain. You know the difference between a grateful heart and ungrateful heart?
Hmm.
Yeah. You say, oh, I don't care whether you are there or not, and I don't believe in you. Okay. The mindset of such individuals, you have to pray for them actually. Because they are never happy with anything in life. If you study psychologically, they have no satisfaction, contentment, joy in life. So if it's just mere belief, even if it is a placebo, it will still help you to remain peaceful. Fighting with the absence is a big problem.
Yeah.
Fighting with ignorance is a greater problem. And fighting with this darkness that I'm trying to push and say, move away, darkness. It will not move. A little candle will help me to push the darkness. Little understanding, little awareness will help me get rid of this negative idea of presence. So psychologically also, for our peace of mind, it is good to believe, even if you don't experience.
Well, thank you so much, Daaji. That was a very enlightening explanation. And I hope to see you in the United States, possibly for my birthday on September 29th.
Holy Lord.
Thank
you
you so
are
much for your time. We're both
happy
Libras.
happy birthday to you.
Happy early birthday to you.
Yeah. That is the only zodiac that is non-living. Rest of them, their symbols are all animals.
Agreed. Well, thank you so much.
Thanks, Felicia. Thanks for your question. Daaji, we have many more questions lined up, but I just thought I'd ask you if you want to do a sitting or should we take another question on?
One question more. Okay.
Great. So we have Gary who has joined us, but I think he is Gary Jensen. He's in his son's school, Daaji, so his video might be off, but he has a question for you.
Okay. Hello, Gary.
Oh, great. Your video is on. Wonderful. Please, over to you.
Yes. Greetings, Daaji. Greetings, everyone. Tell me a little bit more about one of the things I love about your book is how you frame heartfulness, spirituality within the context of anatomy. And if this has already been asked, forgive me because I joined a little bit late. But tell me a little bit more about how the book came to be in terms of you contextualizing spirituality using anatomy, and how that came about.
Early in childhood, we learned about 7 chakras. And when we came across Sahaj Marg and the teachings of Babuji, we learned that there are not only just 7, but there are many more chakras. In fact, he would say there are infinite chakras. I'll cut the story very short. And my curiosity to understand how these chakras were formed in the first place, what is the need of it? Why divinity has to descend in this fashion? It's like, the water is flowing from the mountain, and at each level there are dams created to reduce the speed of water and force of water so it does not destroy the whole or doesn't flood the whole thing at one go. So to me, it's like a circuit breaker. Right? How did they form was my another search. I was constantly keep on inquiring within myself, how did they come about in the first place? We understand why of it, how they were formed. So one day during my meditation, the revelation came. And since this was sometime in 2008 or 2009. And I did not trust myself at that time that this revelation could be a milestone. So I wrote a letter and sent it out to Master, then Chariji, where I did not receive any answer, but in fact I was reprimanded that you are thinking too much. So then my natural thing was to divert my mind and say, okay, let me send it to our medium in France, and so that she can send it to Babuji Maharaj. And that's how it all started. And Babuji very compassionately responded that the point that you have found in yourself, it's a strategic point. Strategic point because that is where everything happens. I call it as point C, because A and B were already described by Babuji Maharaj and earlier during his lifetime. So when we talked about C, I felt that this C is the center of all likes and dislikes. And from there, everything started coming. See, the next revelation was that what if I have so much of likes for the opposite sex, and I'm constantly craving of it? It would create the heavier impression, or it will give me some sort of at times I would artificially create that feeling in myself of sexuality. And though my B point will lit up with so much of heaviness. And then this B point, when it remains heavy enough for a long time, it would affect my heart. It would affect my, not heart as a physical organ, but my emotion in the heart. It will become heavy. And as a result, my peace of mind would be destroyed. Right? Later on, I experimented with lack of things in life. Oh, I don't have this in life. I need more drugstores to start with. And when you begin to crave and begin to imagine that I would like to have so many things in life, better house, many drugstores, lots of money, then I could see the echoing effect of these likes on the point A. And again, continuously thinking about it, you lose peace of mind, and that would stir up the vibrations on point 2. So I could see the impact of these emotions, the moods, first on point C, then it would either aggravate point A or point B. And later on, if they last for a little longer time, the next one, and then the next one. So that gave me the idea that how our simple obsessive likes and dislikes creates grossness in our system, complexities in our system. That doesn't mean that we don't have to like things or don't have to dislike things. Have it in moderation, say. Express it and forget it. Witness it and forget it. Don't be meditating on this likes and dislikes. Don't carry on for more than 24 hours. Drop it as quickly as possible. Otherwise, they become part of our anatomy, part of our chakras. And they spoil those chakras accordingly. And what I also found that many things that I left behind in my past, unattended, or where I made mistakes, then I would observe in which area these feelings are gravitating. For example, the emotions related to guilt. Oh, I wish I could have told her, I love you. I did not, and she's gone. Right? I wish I had studied a little bit extra and gained just 1 mark extra. I could have gone into medical field. Instead, I became a pharmacist. So things like that, little, things I could have done, I didn't do. I should have done, I didn't do. Those are guilt feelings. And guilt feelings also creates some sort of pain, some sort of heaviness. And that Babuji called it as point D. And according to him, point D, these impressions of point, that impressions gathered or gravitating at point, it can never be cleaned, even by the great master, even by God. Because this is something you have done deliberately with your knowledge, with your full awareness. Something you did not do, or deliberately, or something you did deliberately that created guilt feeling. That cannot be removed. Only thing that can help us remove or dissolve it is our regrets, remorse, and some tears in our eyes that can wash away that guilt. And when we promise ourselves that, okay, henceforth, I will not do it, that's the only thing that can help us get rid of this. So little by little, this awareness that got gathered in. And then, many people, they talk about in yoga literature, that each chakra has an element, one of the 5 elements. But then I felt that it is not just that. It can have one majority and the other 4 in some proportion. And then later on, I was reading autobiography of Babuji Maharaj. Lalaji also dictates the same thing, that the others, one, for example, the heart, is mainly the earth element, but the 4 others are also present. And how in Sahajmarg and Heartfulness way, we master these elements, and how there is a lower region and upper region. So all these vibrations were felt. These were felt even much earlier in my earlier days of practice in 76, 77, the clockwise and anti-clockwise movement of vibrations at each chakra. And I am sure a lot of us, a lot of our people can experience this. Just have to take a little bit more interest, slightly more interest in studying what is happening inside. And you can see these vibrations, the colors, the areas of the chakras, the moods, and the polarity associated with the moods. Polarity, what I mean by polarity is, like, let's say you are on a water chakra, here on the 4th chakra, which is where there is a dominance of water element. There one feels extreme levels of fear, at the same time extreme levels of courage, depending on the heaviness of it. Similarly, this point of air here, then plexus here, which is 5th chakra in our tradition, there is either so much of clarity or so much of confusion. 3rd chakra, which is fire, it's all about love, or its opposite. On 2nd chakra, there's so much of peace or so much of restlessness. Anyway, so all these are, I think you can associate them psychologically with different emotions. Physiologically, also you can connect it with other stuff. For example, when you are being cleaned up through this yogic transmission, okay, usually we go very deep during such cleaning processes. When we transmit, we are uplifted somehow with a different level of awareness. Awareness changes when we are being transmitted to, and this can be felt here. We can perceive it with our awareness, with our consciousness. If we can measure what we call EKG, not EKG, EEG, electroencephalograph, right? Now it's easy to measure all these things, and you can easily see the changes there. When we go into, within 5 minutes, you can easily go into a delta mode, as if you are sleeping, but you are not sleeping. Delta mode is when the frequency is less than 5, between 3 to 5 hertz per second. When you're meditating and receiving transmission, it changes. And we have done studies. Now, what I would like to study further is how the cleaning changes the neurological, phenomena. For example, with certain habits, a person may have a certain habit of thinking in certain way, or anger. He has what we call the bridge of anger, the neurons associated with anger, neurons associated with contemplative mind, neurons associated with certain likes, strong likes for sex, for example, and how the brain centers are firing at that moment. The neural firing happens. Now, through cleaning over 6 months with a specific cleaning, if we can see that we are able to dissolve those bridges, if we are able to do the synaptic pruning, causing all those emotions or making those brain cells work together, they are not working together now because of the cleaning, then we can scientifically prove. I'm suggesting this while we are talking, so some of our research professional doctors who are listening to me will make a note of this and study it further, how we can study the breaking, the synaptic pruning in our brain. So Gary, I hope I was clear. Huh?
Oh, very much, Daaji. Thank you so much. As you were speaking, it reminded me of the Egyptian Book of the Dead. And when someone who passes on, their soul or their heart is actually weighed, and it should be as light as a feather, right? And if it's not, then it signifies that there was something, that there was a buildup inside that heart that grounded them to the earth, right? And what I love about your book, Spiritual Anatomy, is that it really does provide a framework for lightness of the heart. And I think what I love about your teaching is that that's what you're trying to help us with, is to take our heavy hearts and lighten those loads. And I appreciate all that you do, and thank you so much for what you bring to the world.
Thank you, Gary. Thank you. We understand the importance of having a lighter heart. Can I create that feather-like heart at the moment of departure? If I'm not always feather-like, how can I be feather-like at the end? When that moment is there to say goodbye to your loved ones, it's very heavy moments. You're leaving your beloved, you're leaving your children, grandchildren, and all the things that you have identified yourself with. You see? Either it's in you for good or it's not in you. You cannot fabricate lightness just momentarily to escape into another dimension. The revelation that came to us was this, and it is there in our whispers. I don't know if you have been introduced to Whispers from the Brighter World, but there Babuji mentions about this, that at the moment of death, depending upon the lightness of the heart, lightness of the soul, whether it is loaded with samskaras or not, if it is feather-like, it will reach that dimension. It will reach its resonating or matching dimension. Nobody comes to pick you up and take you to that dimension. In nature also, when you see the sky, the smoke that goes above, right? There are layers of smoke settling at various levels of stratosphere. There is a black one, then there is a blue one, then there is a red one, because that impurities have settled above based on its density. The soul also, when it departs and enters some dimension, it will enter only that dimension that is matching to its frequencies. So it's very natural. There is no angel coming to pick you up.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Gary. So Pragya, we meditate now.
Yes, Daaji, absolutely.
So would you? All right, let's begin then. Okay, I'll stay through. Okay. So let's all meditate.